The GameCube is one of the most cherished Nintendo consoles of all time. When a system has Super Smash Bros. Melee or Metroid Prime on it, what else can you even say? However, not every game can be like that, and today we're going to look at 10 of them. The 10 worst rated GameCube games according to Metacritic. Is it going to be a bamboozle or a true part of the gaming prophecy? I have no idea, so that's what we're going to try finding out. And if you want proof for how intense these games will be, look no further than Charlie's Angels having a score of 23. As it goes with these videos, the first game is typically one that lives in infamy, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this game but never actually played it, which is a big mistake on your part. Do you really want to miss out on a game that has a plot device like this? Yes, America's very own Bertha was stolen somehow. I'm shocked we don't see this more often. Like, Earth is here, Earth is gone. Where did it go? Who knows? Build a story around it. In the case of Bertha, we need to go through tough battles, we'll call them, taking on a bunch of enemies as the Angels in the style of a beat-em-up game. We only have access to 3 strings at the start, triple Y, triple X, and YYX. We don't even get a triple H. You do unlock more combos after completing levels, which is, exciting, but the best part is that it doesn't really matter anyways, because the further I went, I started realizing you only need to press Y, and I do say you only need to press one button a lot. In this case, however, I mean it more than I ever have before. You seem to get invincibility frames when doing your triple Y combo, that or your enemies just stand there watching you press the button, making progressing further into the war zone even easier than it otherwise would be. The Y button tactic works with any angel you're playing as, and for some reason no other combos give you this power, so why would I ever do anything that isn't pressing Y since it's basically foolproof? The answer is, I wouldn't. Making the gameplay loop, me press Y, me run to next area, me press button, me supposed to fun. So obviously, it's not the most engaging game of all time, even when they let us switch between the angels when we want to during play, or our ability to pick up weapons off the ground. Those enthralling aspects don't make the player ignore the fact how the one-button spamming monkey behavior wraps up Charlie's Angels in a nutshell, and surely a deck of cards could make for a more entertaining experience. But to be fair for a second, I don't blame the goofballs that gave us this game for creating a beat-em-up with Charlie's Angels, since, let's be real, what else could you even do? Yeah, they fucked it up royally, but really, what can you do with these characters? Aside from enjoy their cellulite, apparently. We've probably all seen the latter segments. Clear ass shot. This definitely was not an accident. Is it really necessary for it to be this long? What is the average nut time to this? Tell us please. Average nut time for the original Gunnerbait? These ladder climbing moments happen quite often throughout the game, and only the first one is shot like this. The others are more normal for the most part, so are they just impressed with how ahead of its time the climbing animation was? Or is it some sort of Mesozoic mating ritual? No, it can't be. This is definitely the mating ritual. All I can say for myself is that the climbing animation isn't my favorite one. The running animation is. These girls look like they're stomping down the court ready to dunk on Noah in Zoo Race. The over-exaggeration is crazy. Is this what AI would produce if you put in Charlie's Angels running? No, actually. It looks better. Is that impressive or worrying? And speaking of AI, while I was playing through the game, attempting to overcome the task of finding out where the building-sized human was, I googled how many levels Charlie's Angels has, hoping to get the answer to my burning question of when will the game end, and it had the audacity to say, each presenting unique challenges in gameplay scenarios when referring to the levels. Yeah, I don't think the AI takeover's coming anytime soon. Charlie's Angels has the impressive ability to detach you from the game while playing it and start making you question what you're doing and why. It's almost impossible to finish this game, not because the game is hard, it's actually quite easy. The only level that was difficult was the final one, because there are enemies that walk up to you with hand grenades, toss it right into your face with no warning, and remove mostly all your health. That said level also drags and drags and drags, while being very stingy with health pickups. And when you lose all your lives, you need to restart the entire level over. It gets pretty stale dealing with all of it. Outside of that last level though, the challenge comes from how long can your attention span be held? Can you wire yourself in to never break focus and defeat the 10 level slog? If I take Adderall, then absolutely. But is it really worth taking prescription medication to finish a game? I don't think so. It may seem dry with what we talked about, but this is everything. There really isn't much to say about this game. An average playthrough would be around 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of this. Just pressing one button for hours on end. None of the angels are specialized in any way. You have no special attacks. Nothing. Plot lost when making a beat-em-up game. But instead of asking where are the special moves, or even where is the fun in Chucky's Angels, we should be asking, can you take the plot of Bad Boys 2 and turn it into a hot-selling video game? Bad Boys Miami Takedown got a score of 35, so probably not. And I just wanted to highlight this Metacritic review real quick by worth playing. For non-gaming dorks out there looking for some amusement in this title, the Sonic aspects of it are where it's at. What does this even mean? Sonic isn't here. Right when I started playing the game, it gave me an instant reminder of the Shield on PS2 that we talked about before. It seems to have a similar system with the good cop, bad cop thing, or excuse me, bad boy. But instead of it basically ruining the game like it did with the Shield, in Bad Boys Miami Takedown, it just exists. You can kill as many people as you want to, however you want to, with that bar meaning nothing tangible. It just moves up and down. So what's the point of it? The same can be said with the money we get during missions. You're able to pick stuff up that gives you cash, but there's no store or anywhere to spend it. So why are either of these features here? Is it for immersion? Points? Look at the thousands of dollars I'm getting. I murdered dozens and dozens of people for fun. I feel like such a bad boy. And that's the extent of my roleplay. If those features truly were for immersion, I found it pretty difficult to pull that off, even when they included a first-person view in there. Whenever you duck behind an object and aim to kill somebody, you get a first-person view of your gun and are able to shoot the evil men. Shocker, it doesn't really add anything. It's quite jarring to deal with, actually. And in my eyes, all the quote-unquote features of this game come off like, man, these levels are too flat. What else can we do to make the player feel like they aren't going through a walking simulator? Add money. The kids like money, right? Halo's cool. Add the first-person thing that game does. Because if you look at Bad Boys itself, at the core, the game is just following a bunch of straight pathways, shooting at people with nothing else happening, aside from kicking in doors, being stunted when you see the ghosts that appear when someone dies. It seems to happen at random, but when you kill enemies, occasionally their spirits will haunt the location after death, trying to fool the player into thinking they aren't dead. This is the dedication needed if you want to run a gang for real. If only the bosses were as dedicated to their craft as the little guys are. Bosu here, I think is how you say it, is hiding behind boxes with a grenade launcher, shooting it at me, and my only pieces of cover are fucking speakers. Who knew they could block explosions? It's either that or my character's skin is made out of aluminum. He was genuinely a joke of a scuffle, and not even a funny one. After we win, he jumps off the balcony, teleports into his car, and we never see or hear from him again, allowing us to continue the good fight. Or try to, because I started running into an issue. I didn't understand why sometimes enemies would drop guns and other times they wouldn't. If you can't get a gun, you're just stuck with a pistol, which is fine, it has infinite ammo, but it's not going to get your KD up. You need the better firepower, and enemies just weren't dropping them for some reason. Until I found out you need to shoot the gun out of the enemy's hand for them to drop one, I thought that was just to increase the meter towards perfect cop, because it's the good guy play over splattering a person's brain on the walls with a bullet. Apparently not. I kept dying the whole time I didn't know this. Well, actually, I still died even when I did know it, but it added to the frustration a bit. Bad Boys is one of those classics where you need to restart the entire level over if you die once. This level on the docks, my lord, I died so many times and had to keep redoing everything. I tried to commit to the shotgun because at the time it was the only weapon I was getting, plus I thought it would be fun to use. It wasn't. The video game logic is usually shotgun up close equal good. In Bad Boys, it's more like shotgun only kill when feel like it, distance don't matter. Funnily enough though, continuously dying is the only moment you're really going to be engaged with what is happening, since every level is essentially the same thing. Again, you're just running in straight pathways, shooting enemies that are standing still 80% of the time. The only variety moments you get are boss fights and the sniper segments where you're just shooting a bunch of enemies trying to kill your pal. This game is not Charlie's Angels levels of stale, boring gameplay, thanks to it being slightly more interactive, which isn't really saying much to be honest, but at least the game was engaging enough for me to actually finish it. The highlight of my entire playthrough was definitely the second to last boss, where I had to hide behind pillars, then peek around the corner to shoot this guy using a chain gun. He moves around, blaring his weaponry, and we're expected to go from cover spot to cover spot, being way more difficult than it should be. It doesn't always work when you press the B button, so you'll end up taking more than half your health in under a second if the game doesn't feel like working. I always love these fourth wall breaking moments when I play a game. This jackass also throws grenades at you, and if you're reloading, you can't cancel it to move. Adding more gasoline in, you can't even reload on command, which is a very questionable choice if I say so myself. The fight is just really annoying, and you know what would fix all the problems of this battle? If I could just move on my own. I don't see an issue with that. Why lock me in place? The final boss is like this too. We just sit behind cover spots, shooting him while he's using a turret. Is this supposed to be cinematic? Bad Boys may be more engaging than Charlie's Angels, but it still follows the same loop. When you play level 1, you've essentially played the entire game. I sat my ass down for 3.5 hours to finish the whole thing, and I could only talk about it for 5 minutes. If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does. The volume level is like if you took Mickey Mouse and made a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater clone out of it. That may sound like a joke, but it's actually not. Konami, of all companies, released Disney Sports Skateboarding that got a score of 36. I usually don't talk about sports games because it's a sports game, and there's typically not a lot to say about why they are terrible, or much to say about mostly all of them, to be frank, but this one is an exception. Like, come on. We get to kick it with Michael Mouse and tear up some asphalt on a skateboard. Who would say no to this? My first choice was trying to take him to the ramps, and it did not go well whatsoever. I felt like the player in a COD lobby who went 2 and 35. Michael got cooked on the leaderboard. I just didn't want to put him through that anymore. And all you can do is win trophies there anyways. Surely Mike has enough of those. So I decided to try out challenge mode in this Sonic Adventure 2 city-ass area where we're collecting a bunch of Chaos Emeralds, grinding on rails, pulling off tricks, getting points, and doing the typical stuff you'd see in a skateboarding game, with an objective to collect 5 checkpoints to win, allowing us to move on to different locations. Like here, we're boarding in the clouds, and yet another area that looks like it's from a Sonic game. The only real issue you face while playing this is the controls. On occasion, when you try to jump, it just won't work. It happened to me right here multiple times. I pressed A and nothing happened, forcing me to redo this entire 8-minute level over again. Outside of that, it's clear what was happening here. Monkey see, monkey do with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with Mickey and friends. Nothing deeper. Disney Sports Skateboarding is really stupid, but I don't think it's bad enough to be this low on any ranking. It's a playable game. Each character has differing stats, and it's just fucking crazy to me realizing a Mickey Mouse skateboarding game has more to it than the last 2 games we just played. What a world we live in. I think Konami was hustling with this one, and the establishment was just trying to push them down. How can you truly hate a game where you can pimp out your skateboard deck by putting Mulan or Tinkerbell on it? This is where the Mushroom Kingdom rebellion starts. We need to see these guys punch it back at the haters. Let's see any of you bored like this. Envy the endless dominant performances by Maxwell cooking up a grind of the century on his yacht. These negative reviews are undoubtedly fueled by jealousy and hatred. It's time for a curveball. Tom Clancy's The Sum of All Fears, attaining a score of 36. This one is strange because the PC version has a score of 72, so it made me wonder, what is wrong with this game? What did the GameCube do to this? Do we have a classic case of stealth game gone wrong, stinky port? Let's find out. When I started playing, I immediately noticed something was wrong. I think there might be a piece missing here. We're playing a first-person shooter, and the shooter part is not on the screen. Like, you had enough space to cover the entirety of my vision with a gameplay tip box, but my lead dealer is nowhere to be found. So I restarted the game and loaded back in. Apparently, the game is supposed to be this way. As you play, there's just a crosshair and no first-person gun model. I know some people do prefer this. I'm not one of them. I'd rather have my weapon of choice on screen while I go on my killing spree. Unfortunately, I just need to deal with it. Besides, it helps me get a better view of this jittery, laggy movement. It's hard to explain purely through video, but when you move, your character just randomly stops, or sometimes you can't move at all. I genuinely don't understand it, but all I can say is, thank the heavens this is a stealth game and not an action-heavy one, because dealing with this regularly and fighting would make your experience practically unplayable. And when I'm saying this is a stealth game, I really mean this is a stealth game. You need to be incredibly careful when trying to give someone the gun. If there are other people around who have line of sight and you get caught, good luck trying to fight back. Seriously, what is this seizure we're having? To my understanding, a lot of Tom Clancy games are supposed to be quote-unquote realistic, but come off it. There are a couple of moments you do need to take part in gunfights for real, but you can't fight people like this. If you get shot by Eagle Eye in the back that you can't even see, your character freaks the hell out and you die. There's no fighting back at all. It'd make more sense for you to die instantly when getting shot. Thankfully, you do have a squad of 3 people, so at least there's a chance for you to use one of the other members to take down the person who killed you. I just don't think the taser-infused bullet effect is necessary. Even with whatever you want to call this, I weirdly didn't find the game to be difficult. Each mission gives you a line on this map down here where you just follow it, killing a few people marked on the map with a rare forced battle segment. And if you're lucky, you'll even run into the door guardian who just stands there and blocks a door from opening, not letting you progress in some cases. So you need to either run away hoping he moves, disappears, or restart the mission. If he decides not to show up, chances are you won't have any issues as long as you don't get caught, which I guess is the point of a stealth game. Wow, it looks like Thomas got me there. If you compare this to other stealth games though, it's not a good one. A great post-playthrough summary, I know. But to me, I thought the idea of playing through a stealth game was to try to make your own path, so to speak, sneaking into whatever objective you need to do, allowing you as the player to have freedom with how you do it. For the most part, in Sum of Fears, you're just told where everyone is, and it gives you a pathway to follow. You can go in other directions if you want to. I just don't see the point of that because with how this game is designed, nothing is really going on outside of the given pathway. And the same can be said when I looked at the PC version. It appears to be the same experience with less glitches, and people seem to like it there. I don't know. To me, it's more of a mediocre stealth game. There were better options even on the original PlayStation. If the levels were more diverse with how you could play them, rather than being a walking simulator when you don't follow the white line, I would probably enjoy it more. And does that sound fun? Playing a game with walking being the most entertaining thing you can do? No, but there was a game made about it anyways. It's not Sum of All Fears, it's actually a game the industry calls Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure. It got a score of 39, which is bonkers. Who is trolling on this review page? I see we have another one of these famous posts. They have such wonderful monsters to draw from, but Don and hashtag 146:2 really use them. We also have GameSpy saying, you'll spend far too much time in the park and not enough in the attractions, and that's just not very fun no matter how old you are. This right here is proof some review companies get paid off. Are you for real, guys? Why does this have a 60? Oh yeah, I know. Money. This is the other infamous game we're going to talk about today. There's also Batman Dark Tomorrow and Aquaman Battle for Atlantis that I did skip over because I already talked about them in the Xbox video. But in Universal Studios, we're playing a game as a guest in the almighty God tier theme park, the one where you need to spend $7.99 for a flaccid wiener-sized ice cream cone that melts in your hand while you wait for 2 hours in line to get on a ride. That one. And can we just talk about how stupid of an idea this game's premise is? Nobody wants to be a virtual guest. No one. I'm sure you've heard about the experience of this game before. You run around in a giant park that is borderline impossible to figure out where you are going, even with a map, mainly because the map isn't in real time. It's just the vague area you're in that doesn't help you find which part of the screen you need to touch for you to transition over to a new area. Ones that all have fixed camera angles in positions where you can't even see yourself half the time, with our only objective that I use loosely of picking up trash to get points until we can buy a hat for whichever ride you want to deal with, we'll say. You get to skip the entire line when wearing a hat, similar to faking that you're handicapped to cut lines at the actual park. All the rides we can go on are barely games, reminding me a lot of those edutainment PC titles that force you to play a bunch of mini games to reach the quote-unquote fun games. All we're doing is bumping into Biff, flying around different time periods for Back to the Future, biking our way through hazardous territories trying to bring E.T. back to his family, or putting fires out, rescuing people from a burning building like a true stalwart hero. This is the entire experience. This is all you do. It's one of those situations where even if you paid someone to play it, they still wouldn't want to, so I just had the idea, instead of harping on the stuff people have said a million times, I wanted to drop the bomb of how they could have made this game good, which is a very simple change, really. Just let us run the damn park. Fans of simulator games like Sim Theme Park, Zoo Tycoon, even now we have stuff like Supermarket Simulator and whatever other business running games exist out there, would really enjoy running a Universal Studios park. With all the licenses at their disposal, building the rides and creating whatever else, could have made an enjoyable niche title for somebody instead of being a game for nobody. If we use Supermarket together as an example, no one is turning that game on like, yeah, retail, let's go dude, retail. No one's doing that. It's the business running part, trying to make it stay afloat and not go bankrupt is where the enjoyment comes from. Just like how with Universal Studios, not a soul is sitting there thinking, I want to play a game where I get to be a peasant, begging for crumbs and doing slave labor so I can look at E.T. on a bicycle. If you could run the park yourself, the game would be alright. They could have made the mini games a side experience if they were required to be in the game. They'd still be horrific, but they wouldn't be the main experience of the game, so players would just look past them and not care that much. The whole idea of this game was just chalked from the beginning. In my opinion, this is one of the most ridiculous games of all time. It's one of the few games that exist on this planet that is actually worthless. There's no way anyone had fun with this. Even as a kid, I refuse to believe it. I'd rather just play Disney Pixar's Monsters Inc. Scream Arena, also having a score of 39, yet another franchise where I'm like, how do you even make a game about this? Apparently, the idea was to make a game where you give the player a selection of notable monsters from the film and have them throw a ball around, with some of the most brain-dead AI I have ever seen. Sully is over here with the buzzer beater that was 10 seconds too late, giving me plenty of time to move out of the way when he drops the heater. It's strange how they just stand there. They don't do anything sometimes. You're just ominously being stared at. Am I supposed to be feeling what it's like to be those kids? Schmidt sneaks into my closet and waits for his brain to hook up to the dial-up modem before he tries scaring me. When you get more monsters on the battlefield, things start to get slightly more interesting, but you'll also start noticing how janky their animations are. Some monsters appear to be fine, then others look like they're moving a lot slower than the game is overall, creating a very bizarre effect. It really does bring validity to the whole dial-up theory. Looking at this will undoubtedly distract you from playing the minigame at hand, which is you throwing a ball at each other to get score, holding a ball to get your score up, or throwing a ball at targets. I'm not kidding when I say there are a lot of balls to play with. Each stage has 5 levels before you can progress to the next, where you play one of the same 3 minigames repeatedly. And yes, they did try to spice things up by adding new balls, like the bubble ball that makes a player get stuck, and one that teleports people to a random location, undoubtedly adding to the fun. Fun that never ends. The game has 35 levels. That's just incredible. I salute anyone who could sit through that. But I hate to break it to you, Sully and friends, if you're gonna have that many levels in a game, you need to add a bit more variety. What really makes me depressed to admit though, I'd honestly rather play this than some of the games we've talked about today. Metacritic seems to have me covered when it comes to games that are nothing burgers with no variety within. Can it give me another? Absolutely! Space Raiders with a score of 40. The game opens up with this crazy alien invasion. Our 3 main characters are blowing everyone away. This girl is driving a motorcycle, hyping you up for the real experience. This could possibly be the best video game ever made. My theory that makes me believe this is right in the main menu. When you hover story, it tells you you're going to get told a story. Thank you, game, for giving us this knowledge. We can pick one of the 3 characters we saw in the aforementioned cutscene. I went with Justin, entering me into a cruel, cruel world, filled with stationary action shooting waves of monsters, where I sat there and thought to myself, this looks really familiar, and then it dawned on me, Space Invaders. When I saw afterwards that Taito released this game, everything came together. And it says it on the cover too. And to be straight up, this game isn't terrible at its core. There are of course issues, like how it's one of those one-way ticket to carpal tunnel type games, where holding down the button shoots slower than spamming it yourself. Another major problem is how the story mode is way too easy. The fact you can die as much as you want to and never need to worry about anything like lives, what have you, makes you not give a damn about how you play because it doesn't matter. You'll win by bashing your head against the wall. It really feels like one of those moments where Japan felt like the Western idiots wouldn't be able to comprehend the knowledge required to play their games, so it was dumbed down further. It happened with Final Fantasy. I doubt it's the case here, but that's just how it comes off. A sort of watered down shoot 'em up game. Like, how are you gonna tell me you don't have any remotely engaging weapons to pick up throughout your playthrough? A spread gun, big lasers, a flamethrower, anything. All we get is a gun that shoots out dots. The only positive about it is that you can upgrade the gun by getting consecutive hits without getting hit yourself, or missing a single bullet, which is a reasonable mechanic. Unfortunately, the aliens are always trying to give you a kiss, being right up in your face most of the time, making not getting hit pretty difficult to pull off. So presumably, you'll be using the level 1 or level 2 gun for a majority of the game, regardless of the character you choose. And of course, the only real variety between the characters is our special attack, which doesn't really change anything. There's only a single major difference for one character. For some reason, Ashley has a faster firing weapon, the other two share the same one, so once you figure that out, why would you ever choose Justin or Naji? You're not going to. Unless you're that big of a story head, and you need to see every cutscene so you don't miss out on stuff like this.
Hey, wake up! Whoa! It's taken over the body!
All we're missing is Goldman, and the stories would come full circle.
The original sin that man is responsible to. To protect the life cycle, I have made a creature to rule over mankind. This is the final battle. Show yourself. Our new ruler, the Emperor.
This game released in 2004. You had way better options at that point if you wanted to have a vintage experience like this, and some of them were even made by you guys. With the amount of arcade game collections that were being released during this time period, some by Taito and plenty of other companies were following suit, releasing Space Raiders doesn't even make sense from a business perspective unless you're trying to con someone out of money. You can beat the game in under an hour if you know what's coming, and even if you don't, it's like an hour and 15 minutes at max, then you'll never play it again. Just put your money into one of the arcade collections, because at least there you'll have a variety of games to play. You can even give yourself nightmares with Sinistar. Or, if you're feeling really ballsy, you can put your money into Polar Express, also sharing a score of 40. What is with this? How many of these games exist? These random franchises that have no right being a game, somehow have a game made about them. I just don't understand it. Whatever, let's just embrace this game about children being self-abducted by a train, attempting to answer the question, is Santa Claus real? We want the answer, so our invasion starts today. Our tickets to ensure we don't get kicked off this train will be located by any means necessary. While trying to find them, we run into classic characters like Satan's marionettes, finally giving the true checkmate to atheists everywhere. The devil is real, and he is among us. These said satanic icons are typically our enemies in the many mini-games we get to play as we travel from train cart to train cart. Stuff like kicking a ball at puppets, closing the lid on them, fully asserting your dominance, one where we grab food off of a table and start throwing it at even more puppets hiding behind booths, or even use whatever this is to break ice cubes while sliding around on the floor. It's just as fun as it sounds. That's not sarcasm either. You think I'm not enjoying myself, whacking a ball back and forth by using a trash can lid with a character from the Island of Misfit Toys? It's one of those spiritual experiences that only certain people will understand. Now, obviously, Polar Express doesn't really have much going on. You're essentially doing the same remedial minigames for 40 minutes straight. I initially thought this was the entire game and I was about to shut it off and call it a day, until I left the train. We get to play above ground surfers, watching a child perform actions they probably shouldn't be performing, chasing the conductor who grabbed our fellow kid friend and took her away. These two are actually impossible to catch, not only because the controls in this section are unbelievably stiff and you can barely avoid some of the obstacles, it's just literally impossible. Upon failing our chase, we run into video game Wim Hof, where he takes us skiing down a mountain, being the much needed steed to assault the train from above and reach the conductor. So together, we land on top of the train, speeding across the roof. It looks like we're going to collide into a tunnel and kill us both. Fade to black, everything's back to normal, and now we're dancing with two of the train engineers. What a way to cope after a traumatic experience. As you continue playing, you'll realize Polar Express seems to embody the Christmas spirit by giving the player a reward of variety for your dedication to being a student of the game. When we reach the North Pole, we're given the power to control a train careening down hills at a life-threatening pace, avoiding other smaller trains and giant holes in the ground, leading us to Motion Sickness the video game, spinning around a tube, hitting marked colored panels, attempting to not vomit in the process, where we then enter Santa's factory, forcing us to do puzzles, running across conveyor belts and pulling a bunch of switches to transform the game into a platformer, getting attacked by sentient presence, jumping from place to place, hoping you're going in the right direction, so we can enter Santa's ultimate vehicle, the double blimp combo with a speed bag hanging off of it, traveling over Santa's sweatshops, delivering the gifts to all the elves. Our final reward is seeing Santa peeling off the runway with his reindeer leading the charge that may or may not be living a life that is the equivalent to a torture chamber. And that, my friends, is the Christmas spirit. Polar Express on GameCube. A game so stellar, someone made 2 separate accounts on Metacritic to give it an 8, 3 years apart to fight back against the haters. What a way to bring a movie plot to the consoles. I wasn't a believer at first, but now I am, and I hope all of you have become believers in the Polar Express as well. Now here is a game I wasn't expecting to see. Yu-Gi-Oh! False-Bound Kingdom getting a score of 44. I'm already thinking, what the fuck? How can a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game be rated that badly? Yeah, sure, some people don't like it, or trading card games in general for that matter, but you can't say the game is worthless. You're just dueling with big monsters. What can you do to mess that up? Did they let the players see the 2-paragraph long effects a decade early? Please answer this burning question for me, Kaiba. Apparently, this game has the most elaborate setup of all time for a story, more so than I was expecting. 11 minutes of reading to essentially say, we are going into the virtual world to play a video game inside of a video game, but we're not entering it to duel. This is not your regular old Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. It's an RTS turn-based game, I guess you could say. Before even entering the battlefield, you can select 3 monsters that you have unlocked and put them on a team for one of the characters in your group. Then you can use those said monsters to terrorize the empty world. All we see here is 4 cities. 1 is mine, the other is my opponent's, and 2 that one of us needs to capture, which we do by moving one of our groups of monsters to it. And of course, they are absolute speed demons. Look at this pace, a warlord on the legs. By the time I make it to the city, the entire earth will be flooded. My favorite part about this entire situation here is that there's nothing to do while you're moving, you just wait. I'll start making it faster for the video's sake, but every move I made was actually this slow. It's unreal. Now, it is possible to get random encounters, and I only ran into one while being inside of the tall grass. Even while experimenting, I just never ran into them. They must be very rare, which is a shame to say the least. So it forces you to focus on the real battles, we'll call them. Your opponent has a few members that also have teams of their own, and periodically they'll come out to try capturing a city you haven't captured or attacking one of your cities, where you battle them, obviously. Which I assumed was supposed to be the highlight, the most fun part of your time playing, you know? But I'm not really seeing it. The time to kill on monsters is absolutely preposterous. Some monsters you have at the beginning seem to be serviceable, then others are completely useless and deal little to no damage with the one attack you're given. Judging on the menu, there is a special attack you probably unlock for monsters as you level them. No idea when that is, because until that moment comes, you're forced to kill teams of 3 monsters having close to 1000 HP each, while at maximum you're dealing high 100s. But on average, it's like 130 damage, assuming the attack even hits or they aren't guarding. After a certain amount of attacks are performed, one team wins and the other loses, which doesn't appear to affect anything, at least from what I noticed. bringing you back to the overworld where you can walk away from your enemies or just walk into them again. You're essentially throwing yourself at the same group of 3 monsters repeatedly. My very first attempt playing this game with Kaiba, I killed 4 monsters in 25 minutes. Unfortunately, while attacking my opponent's big city, I ended up losing. I didn't have shit to my name, so it was game over. So I decided to test my luck with Yugi. Protagonist buff, heart of the cards, you know, where I did actually succeed in my conquest this time. I took down the opposing team in level 1. It only took me a little over 20 minutes this time to destroy the other village, giving me Blackland Fire Dragon as a monster, seeming to be the exciting part of Falsebound Kingdom, and I'll say it's the best part of this game. Being able to see all these monsters in 3D is great, just everything surrounding it is miserable. This game is so slow. I cannot wrap my mind around that. Who has the patience for this? Seriously. When the first levels are taking 20-30 minutes to win, and surely the levels get longer the more you play, while having a gameplay loop with less depth than the original Pokemon games from 1996, get real. I'm not dealing with that. And yes, of course, when you're playing the real Yu-Gi-Oh card game, it does take a while. But there is a lot more that goes into what you're going to do, predicting the moves of your opponent, and how you're going to respond. The overall experience keeps you engaged. But unfortunately, that whole engagement thing just doesn't exist here to me. The battles don't really seem to make any sense with how many monsters get to attack per turn. Like, sometimes you get 2, your opponent gets 3, then you only get 1. I just don't understand it. I'm speaking for myself, obviously. And who knows, maybe by saying this game is terrible could ruffle someone's feathers very badly. Possibly, I'll even get threatened over it. That sounds like a great time to me. I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan, but fuck this. No thank you, I'm good. I appreciate the attempt at trying to make something different outside of the card game, which obviously can work. Hell, look at Pokemon. So many of those people haven't even played the card game and only played the video games, but they just screwed this up so bad in my eyes, I don't see how anyone could deal with it. If there is an enjoyer of this out there, please tell me why. What am I missing here? Is the grass greener on the other side, like Ninja Turtles green? Yep, might as well add yet another depressing thing into the conversation. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Melee with a score of 44 as well. Typically, these games have always been arcade-style beat-em-up titles, but just like Yu-Gi-Oh, it appears they wanted to do something slightly different. You pick your turtle. I obviously chose the correct option. And what is this bio? All Mike wants is to sit on his favorite couch in the lair, watch some movies, read some comic books, and eat some candy bars. This is the turtle who's always coming about pizza in every cartoon and movie. What do you mean by candy bars? In Mutant Melee story mode, we're going from level to level, getting into fights with a limited amount of enemies with arena-styled gameplay. That being the slightly different I was referring to. It's weird though. The core gameplay has the depth of a typical beat-em-up, 3, maybe 4 combo attacks, a special attack, and that's it, pounding on members of the Foot Clan or whoever the game is putting you against. You can of course pick up weapons and other things by breaking boxes, but that's really it. As funny as it is to see one of the Ninja Turtles holding a rocket launcher, it might just be a me thing. I feel like this game should just be a beat-em-up game. There was nothing added to truly make this stand out as its own thing if you're playing it solo. All you're doing is playing a pretty mindless game in a more restricted way. However, the story mode does start getting kinda bullshit for me, especially when you're in those 3-on-1 gangbang situations. Also, if you add in how health pickups are incredibly rare and the enemies can steal them from you, it makes certain levels incredibly annoying. You're getting attacked from all angles by multiple people, and you can't really do anything about it aside from just take it and try to fend off the onslaught until you die. It's a one death and you need to restart the level situation too, so I doubt that made many people happy. With the way this game is designed at its core, it doesn't really work for a story mode. It's more of a multiplayer only game, which of course is included and is a lot more entertaining comparatively. The level design and gameplay fits this so much more, having an array of characters to choose from with a variety of game modes. Some are your typical get more kills than everyone else, and others are, you know, fun, giving this game a very strange dynamic. On one side, you can see where the enjoyment comes from. If you played these multiplayer modes with real people, it's understandable why players would have a ball. If you're just looking at the story mode only, it makes you want to get ran over by a lawnmower and leaves you with the feeling of something is missing from the game. Outside of this, Mutant Melee doesn't really have a lot to say about it. The game sort of speaks for itself, and that appears to be the common theme today. After playing or even finishing some of these games, I'm just stuck questioning why, and also holy apathy. Bad Boys Miami Takedown was probably the most expansive game we talked about, and even after completing it, there wasn't anything to really say about it. Charlie's Angels, Polar Express, Space Raiders, all of them. Hours of game time with nothing to show. In my opinion, this is definitely the worst group of games at the bottom of a Metacritic list that we've looked at so far. The only redeemable ones to me is one half of Mutant Melee, since again, the multiplayer could be serviceable if you have the people for it, but still, you do have better options out there. And I can't believe I'm saying it, Disney Sports Skateboarding could be the best out of the 10. That's really not a joke. Maybe someone could argue some of Fears. Maybe. That's just how I feel about it. Make sure to leave all of your thoughts about these games in the comments. I'm always ready to see what you all have to say about them, or even games of your own that weren't on here, since obviously not every game in existence is going to have a rating. And if you somehow made it to the end, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out the playlist on screen for an experience of a lifetime. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.